Hello everybody, hope you're doing okay. Today I want to talk about the Brooks Launch 8 that I've had in, and I've done a few runs in this one now. I've done about my 5th run today, which was a long run, and the other 4 runs were all sort of 5-mile-ish recovery runs. So I think I've done enough in this shoe now to give you a bit of a feel for how it is. Now this is a shoe that I have a bit of a history with. So I had the Brooks Launch 5 and 6, and I used them extensively for a good year and plus. It's a class of shoe that I really like. It is what I would call a lightweight trainer, or maybe a tempo shoe. So I would say this shoe is very much in a bracket with, say, the Adidas Boston 9, the outgoing Pegasus Turbo 2, the Asics Road Blast that I had, and even Brooks' own sort of Hyperion Tempo, although this one's a bit heavier. The Brooks Launch 8 weighs 313 grams in my size UK 13, which is actually a bit lighter than the 5 and 6 version, so I seem to have done a good job in streamlining it a bit. So I took it out today for my long run, where I did 16.7 miles in about 2 hours 20. So I'm going to show you now a little clip from that run, and I'll come back and talk a bit more about the shoe in a minute. Alright, so just under 4 miles in, I just stopped off on this river crossing here in Arisha. Not too bad so far. It's a completely different shoe to the Invincible that I was in last Sunday. It's been a while since I've worn a lightweight type of trainer for a run like this, and you think, well, you definitely appreciate the difference in the foams. I mean, this is very much a thing like if you're paying for £100 and you're just getting like a standard shoe that you kind of like could do pretty much all your running in, I think, apart from maybe your fastest runs. Cushioning is quite nice compared to the Brooks Launch 6 and 5 I've had. It feels quite fairly sort of soft on foot. Whether it will be the same when I've done another hour's running into routine. It feels quite a stable shoe as well, actually. I've had a bit of my left-right balance since I had my calf tear, been over to the left on quite a lot of the shoes, but this one seems to be more like only about 51%. What I do find with these long runs, it just takes me a while to get into them. I think trying to sort of run deliberately, sort of casually for a while at the end of a hard week of training, sometimes it just takes me about half an hour just to sort of adjust to sort of more fat burning than it does sort of like the harder stuff. So it's definitely sort of a feeling that you really need to sort of get these runs done, because I think it's so important, time on feet runs, because there's an element that if you run, say, 8 minutes or 7:30 pace when your marathon pace is sub 7, doesn't really make much difference. And are you just really just tiring yourself out for no good reason? It's a completely different energy system you're training. If I feel like running about 8-minute miling, I feel it's completely aerobic, and I'm just sort of teaching myself to burn fat to be on my feet for longer. If I'm running any faster, I'm starting to feel like this is becoming like a sort of like a tempo run, but you're not actually running at tempo pace. So you're definitely in that sort of, you've got to be careful you don't hit that sort of grey zone 3 area that so many runners can do, and I've done it so often in the past, and you know, it's just easier to pick up the pace because you feel good on these runs. But yeah, so that's a word of warning for later. Right, let's get on with these strides then. Okay, not really much effort in those strides, but this feels like there's certainly a shoe that you could get up to pace if you wanted to. So maybe I'll just throw in a little bit of a bit quicker pace later on if I feel okay. Right, I can do it on my run. Okay, we're now 6 miles in. Now, you may remember last summer I was trying to run all the streets in Elmbridge. Well, turns out since last summer they've actually built this road and a lot more houses. I'm standing behind the Three Rivers Academy. If I turn the camera around, you see a nice lot of new houses. So basically I need to go and run around all these little alleyways here and streets, and take all these 2 more roads and continue on the run. The run itself's not doing too bad. Yeah, I quite enjoying these Brooks Launch 8. They're perhaps a slightly fraction wide for me, so I had to pull in the laces a lot, but yeah, for a nice little run like this is not bad. And I think the key thing is that they're only £100, aren't they, compared to some of these far more expensive, far more hyped up shoes like the Invincible, the Ultra Boost, the New Balance 1080 V11. Now it's a lot more expensive than this Brooks Launch 8, but getting hardly any attention. So yeah, let's carry on and chat later. So just over 9 miles in now, I found some nice smooth tarmac here in Burwood Park, I think it's called. So yeah, I just did a little circuit run here, back to home. So quite liking these shoes, I must say. Nice and sort of fairly light on foot, but also nice cushioning. So apologies, in true tradition of GoPro woes, my GoPro Hero 8 seems to run out of battery when I was somewhere around Burwood Park after about 9 miles. Ended up doing another 7 miles. And I think after that point, it was when I started to pick up the pace. Well, I say pick up the pace, I just did a bit of sub 8 minute miling to get a bit of feel for how it feels going a bit faster. Yeah, it was pretty nice. Now, I'd certainly say it's a shoe that falls into the category of having a responsive midsole. Having said that, it feels slightly softer on feeling to the Brooks Launch 5 and 6 I remembered having. And what I looked up, they've all got the Biomogo DNA midsole. Now, I've no idea what that means, but Brooks themselves say it's an environmentally friendly midsole that provides long-lasting cushioning. Well, that doesn't really tell you much. But certainly the feeling on foot is responsive, firm feeling, but just a bit of softness to carry you through the miles. And certainly if I can run 16.7 miles, which was nearly all on road, I did a little section that was off-road. So that was quite promising. And the good thing is that they're only £100. So that's way cheaper than, say, the Nike Invincible, the Adidas Ultra Boost, the New Balance 1080 V10 and V11. And it gets away from this sort of feeling that you must have maximum cushioning on your feet when you go for your long runs. My pace these days isn't overly quick. I try to average about 8-minute mile pace on those long runs, mainly on the road because it's just so wet and boggy around where we are at the moment. Hopefully in a month or two's time and get off the road a bit. But I did about a mile today on a sort of a footpath which was a bit soft, and as you can see I didn't get the shoes too muddy. I've had one flash wipe to them and they come up quite well. So a quick look at the stats. The top is an engineered mesh. There's not too much structure here, so you'll be glad to see I didn't get any blisters today. It's not a gusseted tongue, but the lace is intertwined here with a little holder halfway, so you've got them nicely tucked in. The tongue isn't overly plush, but there's just enough in it to think you've got a bit of comfort. I think previous versions of the Brooks Launch were a lot more padded, which might make lockdown slightly harder, because I did feel these were a fraction wide for me, so I've had to pull in the laces quite a lot. But as you can probably know from my other reviews, I always do that a lot. And also decided to go up to a UK 13 in the Brooks Launch 8. I used to have a 12 in the 5 and the 6. I think that's primarily I walked into a local shop and that's what they had. And I think in those days I was very much thinking that I needed to just sort of squeeze into a shoe and only have barely half a thumb width of a room up top. I've now realised that that was actually really shoes that are too small for me. So now I like to have a good thumb width in the top, and I certainly do have that in these. It's a 10mm drop. I'm not quite sure of the actual dimensions at the back and the front, but it's a shoe that has a reasonable amount of stack I found at the toes for this type of shoe. And I didn't really feel the ground too much. I mean, maybe after a few more miles that I will do so. I've only done about 40 miles now in this one, so it's a good enough to sort of give it a good feel, but it's holding up well so far. And it does feel quite soft here actually on the back. I could sort of press that in. Whether that will continue to be the case, I don't know. If I do a similar thing here with the Brooks Launch 6, admittedly this is quite an old shoe now, haven't worn this one for a while, but that just feels a lot firmer, even though supposedly it's this same Biomogo DNA midsole. Going to the outsole, there's a nice bit of rubber on there, and I said I did a mile, a bit of off-road, had no problems at all with traction. But I think they've actually done a good job here in keeping the weight down, because this is actually quite a thin layer of rubber. But if I compare that to the 6, it does actually feel like it's a bit more to it there, and certainly this yellow stuff here feels a lot more firmer. They managed to shave off about 20 grams in weight, because I even had the 12 in the 6, and now I've got the 13 as I said, so that would have gone up anyway. So it's about 313 grams on the left shoe and 316 on the right. It seems a common problem that shoes not having the same weight left and right, but let's say they're about 315. Whereas the 6 and the 5, I had around about 320, 325. So nice little saving in weight there. It still puts them a bit heavier than the Boston 9 and the Pegasus Turbo and the Hyperion Tempo from Brooks itself. Although I think the Tempo is deliberately a more minimalist shoe. In a way, I actually prefer the Brooks Launch 8 because I felt that the Hyperion Tempo didn't really was lacking a bit of structure for me. I found it a bit sort of slappy. Whereas the Brooks Launch 8 feels like I've got a nice shoe on and I'm sort of supported through the midsole and a nice toe off. And it's quite nice cushioning, although it's quite light. So all in all, yeah, I'm quite impressed so far with it. I mean, it is a budget shoe, and in a way you kind of feel that there is a budget element to the cushioning. I mean, it's nothing compared to the Zoom X in the Nike Invincible, but that's 65 grams heavier. And this shoe probably ended up running a similar pace this Sunday to what I did last Sunday. I was able to pick it up a bit in both. I mean, I think the main problem at the moment is just it's a long time on feet. But picking up like a Maximus cushioning shoe and one that is more like a lightweight trainer one, and ended up doing the same run and not having sore legs afterwards in either. So that was quite promising. Now, I haven't yet sort of tested this one going sort of really quickly at sort of my marathon pace or quicker. And it's probably not a shoe I'd reach for that. Principally, I've got so many other shoes that are far better for the purpose of running fast. But I think as an everyday trainer that I might want to do some steady miles, some easy miles, maybe when I pick it up now and again, I think this would be a great option. And I think also the fact that when it gets a bit drier, I'm certainly going to look forward to taking this on a few trails. Maybe it won't be quite as yellow after that, but I did survive today a mile on a bit of a muddy path, and that was okay. Nice traction. So yeah, in summary, if you're looking for a lightweight trainer that doesn't cost a lot and it's got decent cushioning but not too much, then yeah, certainly worth checking this one out. Okay, so hope you found this interesting. Like and subscribe and all that, because I always forget to say that. And look forward to seeing you on the next one then. Bye.